Hey friends, welcome back to another Plan With Me video. Before I get into showing you my May setup, which I am so excited to share with all of you, I wanted to talk to you about today's video sponsor, Function of Beauty. If you've been around here for a while, you know I only use very specific products on my hair, and I have very high standards. Naturally, I don't have a lot of volume. Each strand individually is incredibly fine, and I've allowed it to grow to ridiculous lengths. On top of that, I dye my hair regularly, which pushes it along even faster to its natural tendency to breakage. Hair care, just like bullet journaling, is not one size fits all. That's why Function of Beauty has always really intrigued me. They create 100% customizable shampoos and conditioners for your unique hair type and concerns. The process is honestly super simple, and if you're like me and like quizzes of any kind, you'll really enjoy this quick 2-minute quiz to help Function of Beauty learn everything about your head of hair. So for my hair type, I put straight, fine, and dry. Next, it was time to choose my 5 hair goals. So I chose deep condition, replenish hair, fix split ends, strengthen, and soothe scalp. I have a pretty sensitive scalp that gets irritated really easily, so I wanted to make sure to include that. For the same reason, my poor little sensitive scalp, I decided to go silicone-free and fragrance and dye-free. While the fragrances sound absolutely delectable and the colors are super aesthetic, because of my super sensitive scalp, I just wanted to play it as safe as possible, and I love that they have the option to go without silicones, fragrances, and dyes. And of course, I decided to put my name on the bottle, so every bottle says Function of Elizabeth. Once you finish the quiz, you can just sit back and let Function of Beauty come up with your unique formula, which is always 100% cruelty-free and vegan, which is super important to me, and has no parabens, GMOs, sulfates, or toxins. I love that the shampoo and conditioner come in these large bottles, which means less packaging per ounce of product, which we are all fans of here. They also come with pumps, which makes it really easy to dispense the product when you're in the shower with one hand. And in the least surprising development of the century, I really enjoyed putting stickers on the bottles. Did I overdo it? I don't think so. Can you ever have too many stickers? The answer is no. Not only did I get my customized shampoo and conditioner, but I also got my customized hair mask. Because my hair tends to be so dehydrated, I decided to go for the hair mask for the most amount of hydration possible. I was really excited to see how these would work on my hair, so I started using them right away. I tend to wash my hair around twice a week to try to avoid stripping my hair of its natural oils, and here are my results. I've actually noticed a really big improvement, more than I expected. My hair feels super soft, really light. It's not weighed down even by using the hair mask every time I shampoo. I feel like it looks shinier and more hydrated throughout. My ends look a lot better with far fewer split ends, which I am always a fan of, and my scalp hasn't been getting irritated, which is a huge bonus. You can use the link in my description box to get 20% off your first order. Thank you so much to Function of Beauty for sponsoring this video. All right, so here we go. I am starting by getting my paint ready. So I actually had a failed attempt at getting a flat wash of watercolor before I started filming. I wanted to test it out and see how I wanted to do it, and I learned what not to do. So learn from my failure. I highly recommend you mix as much paint as you're going to need to cover your area before you start. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a lot of splotches and streakiness. Watercolor can dry really quickly, and while you can easily work in layers, I recommend if you're trying to get sort of a flat color over a large area to mix more paint than you need before you even start. So for these 2 panels, which are going to turn into my quote page and my cover page, on the left side I used yellow ochre for the background, and on the right side I used burnt sienna for the background. So just mixing those with a healthy dose of water to get a lot of watered down pigment to cover the whole area. For the burnt sienna, I built it up in a couple layers because I did want it to be a little bit darker. Once the backgrounds were dry, I went back in with more yellow ochre with a lot less water so that it would be darker and more opaque, and created this sort of curved shape. Once that had time to dry, I went in with, again, burnt sienna. Again, a lot less water so I would have more of an opaque color payoff, and I created another curved shape. As you'll see here, I adjusted on the right panel so that when these two are side by side, they should hopefully line up. For the sun and the moon, I used a gold marker to get the shape down, and then I used my gold watercolor on top to get more of a metallic, reflective look. I love the color palette of this theme so much. All of these warm tones just have me feeling all warm and fuzzy inside. I let those two paintings fully dry before I removed the tape. I honestly don't think there's anything more satisfying than removing tape from a finished painting. It's just chef's kiss, so good. I had one more painting to do, so I got that one set up. This is the same thing I started with yellow ochre on a flat wash across the whole surface. On this one, I wanted it to be lighter, so I used even more water and less pigment to get a really light beige color. I then went in again with my yellow ochre and then my burnt sienna. For the sun, again, I used my gold marker and then went back over top with the gold watercolor. And then for the brown layer at the bottom, I mixed burnt sienna with raw umber to get a nice reddish dark brown. As always, all the supplies I'm using are linked in the description box down below. Once all the paintings were dry, I scanned them into my computer and edited them in Photoshop, just some basic editing to make sure the colors were as close to real life as possible. I also scaled them up a little bit to make sure that they would be larger than the page, so I could glue them in and then cut them to fit perfectly. Starting with the quote page, I added my quote with a brown Crayola marker. The quote for this month is, "Even the darkest night will end and the sun will rise again." For the cover page, I went over the moon with my gold watercolor, and I added May along the top. So first I wrote it out with a yellow marker just to get the shapes, and then I went back over with a fine detail brush and my gold watercolor. You have to be a little careful using watercolor on paper as thin as standard printer paper. It's really easy to use too much water and to severely warp the page, so just try to be aware of that. I went back over my sun with more gold watercolor again to get that really reflective metallic look. Moving on to the calendar page, I painted over the sun with my gold watercolor and added the calendar really simply using the same brown Crayola marker. And then to finish it off, I added May along the top. I was initially planning on just using the marker over the watercolor, but I realized that that didn't show up at all. So instead, I used raw umber, which is the dark brown watercolor, with very little water on the brush, mostly pigment, so that it would actually show up on top. Now it's finally time to pull out my bullet journal, and I'm going to be gluing these in. And I'm starting by lining them up and gluing them in before worrying about the edges. I really wanted to try to line them up the best I could, so it looked like the image was continuous from one side to the next. Then I just used my scissors to trim the excess paper from the edges. Now I'm doing the same thing with the calendar page, lining it up, adding the glue, and putting it in, then just cutting away the excess. And now we're moving on to the mood tracker. So my idea for the mood tracker was to have all of these sections that I would fill in day by day with a different color according to my mood. So I tried to create all of these sections as sort of irregular. They almost look like waves to fit the abstract desert or hill vibe that I'm going for. I used a bright yellow marker to create the moon, and then once that was dry, I went over that with my gold watercolor, and of course added my header along the top. And then I picked out shades of markers that I had on hand that matched as close as I could get to the watercolors I used in the earlier paintings. In this setup, I really wanted every 2-page spread to feel really cohesive and connected, even if the 2 pages had separate purposes. Now moving on to the last spread of this setup, which is my first weekly spread for May. I'm using my 2-page rolling weekly format. Again, if you're not familiar with the rolling weekly, it is the best weekly spread in my opinion for a bullet journal. I'll link the video I made on it in the cards so you can learn more about this weekly setup if you're not familiar. I started by creating the sun and the moon in the same way, and then used my watercolors to paint directly on the pages of my notebook to create these waves of varying shades. I wanted to create really light beige lines to separate the days of the week, and I ended up not liking how dark they were. So I went back over all of those lines with a white Posca paint pen to really wash out that color and make it just the barest hint of separating lines. And that's it for this whole setup. I don't even know what to call this, sort of desert theme, I guess, for May. That's what these style of paintings always make me think of. And I just love the color combination. I love the beige and gold and mustard and orangey reds. Just all those shades are some of my favorite shades just in general life. As you can see, my nails very much fit this theme. I'm wearing the shade Urbanized from Cirque Colors. And yeah, I just really like this setup. This is one that I had been wanting to do for a while, actually. I've had the idea for this theme since probably May of last year. And I kept putting it off because I had other ideas I wanted to try, or because I let my patrons vote on a theme. And finally this month I decided enough was enough. I was going to do this theme. I of course wanted to continue to include gold in some way so that it would fit in with all of my other themes from this year so far. So I was happy to use gold in the suns and the moons, and I think the gold really works with the color scheme. I also like that it ties in with the cover of my bullet journal, my Archer and Olive bullet journal with this gold moon on the front. Just another little detail that makes my heart happy. I hope you enjoyed my May Plan With Me video. I had so much fun doing this one, and I'm really in love with the theme. Thank you again to Function of Beauty for sponsoring this video. Don't forget, if you use the link in my description box, you can get 20% off your first purchase. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you very soon in my next one. Bye, friends. I want to take a moment to thank my patrons for their support. My patrons are honestly the best people ever. I want to give an extra special thank you to our newest patrons, Kate, Nabila, Sewell, April, Alexis, Pink Ray, and Chelsea. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited to get to know all of you. I hope you'll join our Discord and hang out on the live streams. We just watched The Princess Bride together the other night, and it was so much fun. Check it out. There's a link in the card and the description box down below. You can join the squad for as little as $1 a month. At that $1 tier, you will get a single printable from this setup, but if you join at the $3 tier, you will get every single printable I make from this setup, so you can add some of these paintings to your own bullet journal without having to take the time to actually paint them. So check it out if you're interested. If you're bored at home and looking for something else to watch after this, I would highly recommend you check out this video or this video.